Hey, how's it going, everybody? It's your boy, Delightful Kissboy, and today I'm going to be teaching you how to play craps. I'm going to be explaining what all of these bets on this godforsaken table mean, and what they pay, and how you win them, and how you lose them, etc., etc. It's going to be I was going to say good time. It's going to be a long time, because there are a lot of bets out here. Now, why am I making this video? Well, it's because I recently released a craps video, and I realized I kind of jumped the gun. Okay, I watched this video from a channel called Casino Quest while I was doing research for other craps videos I wanted to make, and I just got so, riled up and angry. I was seeing red that in a fit of passion, I released a video on my channel talking about it and comparing my strategy to their strategy, etc., etc. I had fun with it. Some people had fun watching it, but I realized that I haven't made any other craps videos on this channel before, and so there's a lot of people who are watching it like, what the hell is this dude talking about, right? But me being a petty bitch, I just felt the need to release that video ASAP. But let me go back and correct the record and just kind of explain how the game works so you can understand, and you can go back and watch that video and maybe you'll understand it a little bit better. I'm going to have some further analysis videos coming out. I'll probably re-explain the bets in those, but this is going to be just kind of a general overview of everything. I'm not going to cover house edge or anything like that for the most part. I'm not going to talk about how good or bad these bets are necessarily, but we're just going to cover everything, all right? I'm going to try to do it in one take. We're going to see how it works. we're fingers crossed that it'll just go smoothly. I'm a little bit tired, but I got a little coffee with me. So let's just get into it. Now, this app that I'm using is from a website called wizardofodds.com. It's run by a guy named Michael Shackelford, I think. And it's a great resource. They've got a lot of tools, a lot of math for all these gambling games, and it's all free. All right? Highly recommend you check it out if you're interested in the math. Dude does a good job. I've used his work in some of my own research. I'll leave a link to this page in the description, and you can use this tool totally free, no login required. You can dink around with it, play with some Monopoly money before you actually try the real thing, which I don't recommend doing. I don't think this is it's not a winning game, but if you have fun with it, I don't really give a shit. All right, do what you want. But anyway, I'm going to be using this app. But what's going to happen if you're playing craps in a casino is you're going to walk up to a table and you're going to see a bunch of people surrounding it. All right, there's going to be some dealers and then there's going to be players. One of the players is going to be the designated shooter, and they're going to be the ones that are actually shooting the dice. They're going to be throwing them across the table, and they're going to keep doing that over and over again until something happens, which I'll get into in a bit. Now, this shooter is going to be required to make the most basic bet at the table, and let's start off with that one, and that is the pass line bet, all right? The pass line bet is right here, and you're going to put your bet right there, all right? So let's put a $10 pass bet down. Now, one thing to keep in mind, if you come up to a table, and this puck up here, this is like the point puck, if it's in the off position, then you can make a pass line bet. If it's in the on position and behind one of these numbers up here, so basically flipped over, it'll be white instead of black, it'll say on, and it'll be behind one of these numbers up here. You cannot make a pass line bet, just wait until it comes off again, all right? What the puck is used for will be made evident soon, okay? Now, we've made our pass line bet, and at this point, the shooter is going to shoot, all right? Now, this stage of the game is called the come out, okay? Hoochie mama. We love a good come out. But at this point, what we are hoping for on the pass line is that the shooter rolls a 7 or an 11, because in that case, we're going to get paid out, all right? The pass line bet pays out 1-to-1, meaning that if we put down $10, we stand to win $10 on our bet. And if the shooter rolls a 7 or an 11, we immediately win $10. Good times. Now, we're hoping that the shooter does not roll a 2, a 3, or a 12, because those are craps numbers, the name of the game, all right? And we don't want to see those when we're betting on the pass line, because then we just immediately lose our bet, okay? So 2, 3, or 12, we crap out. 7 or 11, we automatically win, okay? Now, if there's any other number rolled, we'll talk about that in a sec. A point will be set. So let's just go ahead and start off by rolling. Let's see what happens. And we got 7, all right? So we went ahead and we won $10 because 7 pays out on the pass line on the come out roll. Now let's go ahead and put down another $10 on the pass line here, and let's roll again. And this time we got a 5. Now, as I said earlier, 2, 3, 7, 11, or 12 will either win you or lose you the pass line, but any other of these numbers here, something different is going to happen, and that means that a point has been established. So you notice the puck up here that used to be off has been flipped over and set to on. It's moved behind the 5, all right? The reason that's been moved to a 5 is because that's what the shooter shot, okay? The shooter shot a 5, and so it got moved over to the 5, all right? Now, the game is different. We only care about 2 numbers now, all right? We no longer care about the 2, 3, or 12. We don't lose on those anymore. We don't win on the 7 or the 11, all right? Instead, we win if the shooter shoots a 5, and we lose if the shooter shoots a 7. Anything else happens, we don't care, okay? And the shooter is going to keep shooting until we either hit the 5 or the 7, all right? So we want to hit the 5 before we hit the 7. Now, for those who don't know, when you roll 2 dice together, the most common sum that you're going to get between the 2 dice is 7. So we're more likely to hit the 7 and lose than we are to hit the 5 and win. Now, it should mention, at this point in the game, we can no longer pull down our pass line bets, okay? This is a contract bet, and we're favored to lose at this point in the game, and so we have to leave it up, all right? Casino rules. So we're stuck here. And you'll also notice we can no longer make a pass line bet because, as I mentioned earlier, the point is now on, and so we would need to wait until the point is off to make another pass line bet. So let's go ahead and roll it out and see what happens, all right? So we rolled a 5 and we hit our point immediately. Shooter shoots a 5 and we immediately get paid out. So that was pretty lucky, okay? Doesn't always happen. You know, usually you're going to lose at this point, okay? Now, let's make another pass line bet, and we're going to talk about a different bet called the odds, all right? So let's just go ahead and roll it out. Let's see what we get. We got 6 as our new point number, okay? Now that a point has been established, one other bet opens itself up to us, and that is the odds bet, all right? If you want to make an odds bet, you can put up to a multiple of your pass line bet, in this case, 5 times our pass line bet, or $50, behind the pass line, and that's going to be a separate bet called the odds bet. Now, this bet is going to win or lose alongside the pass bet. So these both have the same win condition and the same loss condition. The odds bet will lose on a 7 and win on a 6, just like the pass line in this case. Now, the odds bet, though, is special because it will pay out differently depending on what the point is set to, right? So our pass line bet, we always just win or lose 1 unit, right? We win or lose $10. That's it, no matter what the point is. The odds, however, they pay out differently based on what point was set. So in this case, it's a 6. But if the point had been a 4 or a 10, if we'd placed our odds, these would pay out 2 to 1 if we hit our point, okay? If the point was a 5, they would pay out 3 to 2. And in this case, our point is a 6, and this pays out 6 to 5. Now, why is this? Well, it's because as you move closer to the center of these box numbers, meaning like a 6 or an 8, you get more and more likely that you're going to hit your point number before the 7, right? Because there's more ways to make a 6 than there are an 8, okay? So these bets pay out less, favorably, or I shouldn't say favorably. The payout is less because they're more likely to happen. 4 or 10 is more of a long shot, and so they pay out more. So as I said earlier, 2 to 1, 3 to 2, 6 to 5. Now the thing that's interesting about this is that the odds bet by itself technically pays out fairly at the casino, meaning there's 0 house edge. So these are true odds that are being paid out on your odds bet, okay? So keep that in mind. Now, the amount that you can pay on your odds bet, as I said earlier, is a multiple of the amount that you have on the pass line. And generally, tables are going to advertise that, all right? So sometimes it'll say 10x, meaning that you can bet up to 10 times whatever you put on the pass line. So if this was a 10x table, we could put up to $100 here. But you'll see here, we could only put up to 5x, okay? And that's because this is a 3, 4, 5x odds table. What does that mean? Well, it means that if the point is a 4 or a 10, you can only put up to 3 times the amount of your pass line bet in your odds bet. Meaning that in this case, if it was a 4, we could only put up to $30 in our odds bet. If it was a 5 or a 9, we could put up to 4 times whatever our pass line bet was, meaning that we could put down $40 in this case. But instead we got the 6 and the 8, and these we can put up to 5 times our pass line bet, and that means that we can put up to 50. All right. Now the reason that they do this is because it simplifies the math for the dealer when it comes to people who are maxing out odds on their pass line bets. Because you'll notice these will all pay out $60 in this case if we hit our point, no matter what the point is, okay? Because in this case, our max odds for a 4 are $30. It pays out 2 to 1, so that means that we're gaining $60 for our pass line bet, all right? Here, we're putting up to 4 times. That's $40, paying out 3 to 2, once again, $60. And here for our 6, we get up to 5 times, which also pays out $60 because it pays out 6 to 5, right? Keeps the math a little bit more simple for the dealer, and also the casinos don't like giving you the option to put out huge amounts in odds because, as I said earlier, they pay fairly, so they want to put a cap on how much you can bet in odds, all right? Because as the amount that you can put down in odds gets higher and higher, your effective house edge gets lower and lower. I'm getting into analysis. I said I wasn't going to do that, but there you go. All right. Anyway, we're getting the weeds with it. We put down $50 in odds. As I said earlier, the odds bet and the pass line bet win and lose together. So we want to hit the 6 before we hit the 7. So let's roll it out and see what happens. We got 2, which means nothing for us. And here we hit the 6, so we actually get paid out. We won $70 because we won $10 on our pass line bet and then $60 on our odds bets. Excuse me. All right. So that's how the pass line bet works, and that's how the odds bet work. You'll notice that the point came off once we hit our point. It's just like if you 7 out, the point will come off. But instead of passing along the dice to the next shooter, the shooter gets to keep shooting because they hit their point. So they didn't 7 out. They get to keep shooting. All right. Now that we've covered the pass line bet, let's cover the don't pass. This is essentially the opposite of the pass line bet. So let's go ahead and put $10 on here. This don't pass bet is essentially the opposite of a pass line bet. We're rooting for the exact opposite things to happen as the pass line. That means on the come out roll, which we're at right now because the puck is off, now with the don't pass, we will win on a 2 or a 3. Now the main difference between being the exact opposite of the pass line is that we only push on a 12. All right. So if the shooter shoots a 12, we just tie, whereas the pass line will lose on the 12. Okay, that's how they keep the house edge with the don't pass. All right. So we win on a 2 or a 3 on the come out roll, but we lose on a 7 or an 11. All right. But just like with the pass line, any other number is going to set a point, and then I'll come to what we're rooting for when we set a point. So let's go ahead and roll here. Let's see what happens. So here a 5 is set. Now, if we had bet the pass line, what we'd be rooting for at this point is that we would roll the 5 before we roll the 7. But with the don't pass, you're rooting for the exact opposite thing to happen. We want the 7 to hit before the 5. Okay? And as we said earlier, the 7 is more likely to hit before the 5 in general. So in this position, we're actually favored. And for that reason, the casino actually lets you pull down your bet if you'd like to. I would not recommend doing that because at this point, we're favored to win. All right? The odds are in our favor. And just like the pass line, the don't pass pays out 1-to-1. But also, just like the pass line, we're allowed to put down odds, okay? Now, the amount of odds that we can put down are based on what we stand to gain from our bet, okay? So whereas with the pass line, we're able to put a multiple of our bet up, instead with the odds, we're able to, or sorry, with the don't pass, when we're laying odds here, we're able to put up a multiple of what we stand to win. And it's because these essentially pay opposite of what a pass line odds bet would pay out. Let me explain what I mean by that. So here we're able to put up $60 in odds, and this 5 point will pay out 2 to 3 in odds for the don't pass, whereas it would pay out 3 to 2 in odds for the pass. Okay, so it's the opposite. So if the point was a 4 or a 10, our odds bet on the don't pass would pay out 1 to 2, meaning half of whatever we put down, we will win. All right, so we put down $60, we win $30. Here we pay out 2 to 3, so that means that whatever we basically we win 2/3 of what we put down. So in this case, we put down $60, we win $40. And then if it was a 5 or a 6 or an 8, excuse me, I'm getting a little tired. Jeez, a 6 or an 8, it would pay out 5 to 6, meaning that we would win $50 when we put down $60. Okay, so it's the opposite of odds for the pass line. So in this case, we put down $60, we stand to gain $40 from our odds that we put down, and we stand to win $10 from our don't pass bet. So we're rooting for the 7. Let's see if we hit the 7 before we hit the 5, and you'll see we did. So we got paid out here. We won $50, $10 from the don't pass, $40 from the $60 in odds that we put down when the point was a 5. All right? So I went through that a little quick, but hopefully you have a general idea of how the pass and don't pass work. Let's cover the come and don't come. All right? Now, these are essentially the same bets as the pass and don't pass. You just make them after the point is set. And they're kind of confusing and they're kind of weird. If you're new to the game, I would recommend not worrying about the come and don't come. Just play the pass line and the don't pass, and don't worry about the come and don't come. But let's go ahead and cover this just for the sake of argument. All right, I'll let me put down $10 on both the pass and don't pass, so we can just see what happens here. All right, obviously this isn't a great idea, but I just want to illustrate what's going on. So let's go ahead and make our roll here. And you'll see it was a 7, so you saw we won our pass line bet, lost our don't pass bet. So let's go ahead and put this out again. Let's go ahead and roll. And now the point has been set on 8. So we can no longer make pass line bets, and we can no longer make don't pass bets, but we can now make come and don't come bets. We love to come, we love to, well, I don't love to not come, but sometimes you just got to do it. Now, let's go ahead and put $10 on both of these to understand what's going on, okay? So, essentially what's going on is these are essentially staggered sets of rolls. So it's kind of confusing. So right now, with the pass line and don't pass, the point has been set on 8. With the come and don't come, a point has not been established for these bets yet, and they're essentially on the come out roll right now. So let's go ahead and roll and see what happens here. So we rolled a 7, and now what you'll notice is a bunch of shit happens, all right? So our pass line lost because the point was an 8. Our don't pass won because the point was an 8, and we won as we 7'd out. But you'll see our come bet, which is essentially a pass line bet on the come out roll, won because we rolled a 7 on the come out, and our don't come bet lost because we rolled a 7 on the come out there. So it's confusing. Let me just do it one more time. Let's try to get a point established so you can see what I'm talking about. There's a lot going on, and this is kind of why I say don't worry about it as a beginner. But here we have a point established on 10 for our pass line and don't pass line bets. So let's go ahead and put out come and don't come just so we can see what happens. Let's roll again. And here, now we rolled an 8. Now for our pass line and don't pass bets, this does nothing, okay? Because the point is 10. We only care about the 7 or the 10. But you'll notice both our come and don't come bets have moved into the 9 box because we rolled a 9. I think I said 8 earlier. Rolled a 9, okay? So they've both been moved over into the 9 box here. Now, essentially what this means is that we have our point set for our pass line and don't pass line bets, or don't pass bar bets. But we have a point set for both of these come and don't come bets as well. So, It's essentially like you have multiple concurrent bets going on that win on different numbers and lose on different numbers all at the same time. At this point, we're allowed to even put out more of these bets if we would like to. So we can roll again. And here we got an 11. So you'll see that the come won and the don't come lost. And then nothing happened with these bets. Let's just keep doing this to make it even more confusing. All right, here an 8 has been established. So now we've got like 3 different point numbers, all right? We've got 10 for these 2 bets. We've got 9 for these 2 bets. And we've got 8 for these 2 bets. Let's go ahead and roll it out again. Let's just see what happens, all right? So here we got a 7. And so you'll notice all of our don't come bets pay out. All of our come bets lost, because we didn't hit the number, and our pass line bet lost, and our don't pass bet won. All right? So, lots going on. It probably looks confusing. These are essentially just concurrent pass and don't pass bets. Don't worry about it too much. All right? We're going to move on. We're going to move on. All right. Anyway, the next thing I want to talk about are place bets and buy bets. Okay? So, let's go ahead and let's get a point established, just because this is usually how they work, all right? So we have 4 as our point, okay? Now what we can do is we can make place bets, all right? And this is essentially skipping, you know, we don't have to abide by the point number. Instead, what we can do is we can just place bets on specific numbers that we're going to bet hit before we hit a 7. So, for example, if I put down $10 on the 9, I'm betting that a 9 will come up from the shooter before the shooter hits a 7, okay? So even though the point is a 4, and if we bet the pass line, we would be wanting the shooter to hit the 4, this 9 place bet is betting that they're going to hit the 9 before they hit the 7. Now we could do this for any of these numbers up here. So we could do it on the 10, we could do it on the 4, we could do, even though the 4 has the point, we could put a place bet on the 4 instead of, you know, putting the pass line or whatever, right? So we have 10 on the 5, and then we want 12 on the 6 and the 8. Okay, now the reason that we want to put 12 on the 6 and the 8 is because these bets in the middle, the 6 and the 8, pay out 7 to 6. So you want your bet to be divisible by 6, all right? If we don't, the casino is going to round not in your favor, okay? So let's go over the payouts for all these different place bets. So the 4 and the 10, if you're placing them, are going to pay out, what is it? It's 9 to 5. 5 and 9 are going to pay out 7 to 5. And 6 and 8 are going to pay out 7 to 6. Okay? Now you'll notice, as we were talking about odds earlier, when you're putting odds on a place or a pass bet, those are going to pay out true odds. In that case, it's 2 to 1, 3 to 2, and 6 to 5. You'll notice that all of these payouts are lower than the odds bets, and that's where the house edge comes in, okay? These are just as equally likely to hit as any point number. So in this case, you know, the place bet is just as likely to hit as the pass line bet when the point is a 4, but they pay out worse than the true odds, okay? So as I said earlier, 9 to 5, 7 to 5, 7 to 6 here, okay? So that's how the place bets work. Now you'll notice one thing though. On the 4 and the 10, you're going to see that down below here, if you look at the bottom below the pass line, it says buy 4, okay? That's because buying is a different type of bet that you can make, and a lot of casinos will auto buy on the 4 and the 10. Now what is a buy bet? A buy bet is very, very similar to a place bet, but instead of just paying 9 to 5, instead, it will pay out 2 to 1, but they charge a 5% commission on the bet, okay? You know, there's a lot of numbers going on here, but essentially a buy bet functions exactly the same as a place bet, but instead of getting worse payouts, you get the true odds minus a 5% fee, essentially, all right? So on the 4 and the 10, it's actually better to buy than place, okay? For all the other numbers, usually it's going to be better to place than buy, depending on how they pay it all out. I'm not going to get in the weeds with it. That's all you got to know. Place bets, let's go over it again. 4 and 10 pay out 9 to 5. 5 and 9 pay out 7 to 5. 6 and 8 pay out 7 to 6. Okay? With buy bets, 4 and 10 pay out 2 to 1. 5 and 9 pay out 3 to 2. 6 and 8 pay out 6 to 5, just like odds bets, but you get charged a 5% commission to make the bet. Okay? And that means that buying on the 4 and the 10 is better, but usually buying on 5 and 6 are going to be worse. Okay? 5, 6, 8, and 9. All right? There we go. So let's just see how these function. Okay? Let's start rolling. Point is established on the 4. Let's see what happens. All of these bets lose on the 7. So if we 7 out, we're going to lose every single one of our place and buy bets. But if we hit any of these numbers, they're going to pay out. All right? So let's roll. And here we got a 6. So you see we've collected on our 6 here. We've won $14 because it pays out 7 to 6 on our $12 bet. And so we could go ahead and put them up again, all right? We'd be like, oh, let's just put it up. Let's let it ride, as it were. So you can see here, leave winning bets up. Let's go ahead and do that. We're going to roll again. And well, we won on the 5, all right? So we won $14 on the 5 because it pays out 7 to 5. Let's just keep rolling. And then here we got 7, so we get fucked. And we lose all of our place bets, all right? Because they all lose on the 7, all right? So that's how place bets and buy bets work. There you go. Let's move on to lay bets, all right? Now, lay bets are just like buy bets, but it's for the don't position. So remember, pass line versus don't. Pass line, you're rooting for the point. Don't pass, you're rooting for the 7, all right? Now, lay bets are essentially like odds bets on the don't pass, but you're paying a commission, okay? So let me explain what I'm talking about. So let's go ahead and let's get a point established here. Okay. So we got an 8, okay? So let's go ahead and lay $10 on all this shit, okay? I'm trying to remember what these pay. Yeah, so these you can put in multiples of 10 because just like buy bets, these are going to pay true odds. Well, actually, these ones we want to be a multiple of 6. Okay, just like this. All right, so here we go. We've got $10 on all of these different numbers. Now, these are all going to pay out if we hit the 7. They're going to lose if we hit any of these particular numbers, okay? So here, if we just roll the 7 right now, we would win all of these bets all at once. And they pay out true odds minus a 5% commission on the winnings, okay? So that's generally how it works. Whereas with the buy bets, they're charging a commission on the bet amount. With lay bets, they're charging a commission on the win amount, okay? So let's go ahead and see what happens when we roll. So here, we got a 10, so you can see we lost our 10 bet. And we're going to go ahead and roll again. We got an 11. 11 doesn't matter because none of these bets are on 11. Let's go ahead and roll again. We lost our 9 bet because we just hit our 9. And then we just won all the rest of our bets because we rolled a 7. All right? So it's basically functions the opposite of place and buy bets, where you don't want to hit the number that you lay on, and you want to just hit the 7. So all of these paid out, whereas these two lost us money. Okay? So let's go ahead and just pull these down. I don't know. Let me just... we can clear. Yeah, clear. There we go. Okay. So we've covered place bets, buy bets, lay bets. Now let's start getting to the really goofy shit. Actually, let me cover the field bet. This one's pretty easy. All right, this is just a single roll bet, okay? So if you put $10 on the field, you're hoping to hit a 2, 3, 4, 9, 10, 11, or 12 on the exact next roll. So whereas most of these bets span multiple rolls, this one is just exclusively for the next roll. Now if you hit 3, 4, 9, 10, or 11, that just pays out 1 to 1. Okay, meaning that we bet $10, we win $10. If you hit a 2 or a 12, those are going to pay differently. A 2 is going to pay double, and a 12 is going to pay triple on this table. Now, This varies from craps table to craps table. There's a lot of tables that will only pay double on the 12 as well, which increases the house edge. So if you're going to be making field bets, try to play at a table that pays triple on the 12, okay? So let's go ahead and see what happens. Let's roll it out. And so here we got a 3, so we just won 10 bucks. Let's go ahead and roll it again. And here we got an 8, which is not a field number, so we went and lost that bet. But let's leave it up. Let's see if we can hit a, a 2 or a 12 here, okay? So 7 doesn't pay out. Here, 7 doesn't pay out again. Here, 9 pays out 1 to 1. And 5 doesn't pay out. And 10 pays out. Let's roll again. And there we got 2, and that pays double. So you'll see we won 20 bucks instead of 10 bucks. And it's triple for 12s. Okay? So field bets, pretty simple, pretty straightforward. And let's start going over some of these bets over here. Now, these bets suck. Okay? Just plain and simple. Let's start off with the more simple ones. All right? This one right here. Well, okay, let's start with this one. This is just betting $5 here. Well, let me remove it. This is betting that you're going to roll snake eyes on the exact next roll. It's the same basically as this one, which is betting that you're going to roll 2 6s on the exact next roll. And these both pay out 30 to 1. So let's go ahead and just chuck a buck on each of these. So most tables are going to have a table minimum, which is going to be like $5 or $10, $15. Usually they will allow you to make these bets over here for like a buck a pop, okay? Or maybe $5. You usually don't have to abide by the table minimum to make these bets, assuming that you're making some of these other bets as well most of the time, okay? Let's chuck a buck on both of these and let's see what happens. So we roll, it was a 4, which is not snake eyes or double 6s, so we lost both of these bets, okay? Let's take a look at these two, okay? This is 1 and 2, and this is 5 and 6. Now these pay 15 to 1 because they're twice as likely to come up as these doubles, okay? Because if you think about the ordering of the dice, you can get a 1 and a 2, and a 2 and a 1, but with snake eyes, you can only get 1 and 1, all right? So it's 1 out of 36 for this chance. For this to hit, it's a 2 out of 36 chance for this to hit. So let's go ahead and bet on both of these. Let's see if we win, okay? So we won on this one. So we got paid out 15 to 1 because we rolled a 1 and a 2, but we lost on this one because it wasn't obviously a 5 and a 6. So pretty straightforward, pretty simple. Let's go to any craps, okay? These pay out 7 to 1 if you hit any craps numbers, which is a 2, a 3, or a 12, and that's just on the next roll. Once again, pays out 7 to 1. We'll put $1 up there, and we got 9, which is not a craps number because, as I mentioned earlier, it's 2, 3, or 12. So we lose that one. We roll again. And here we got a 4, not a craps number. Let's keep rolling. We got 8, not a craps number. We got 2, which is a craps number, so it pays out $7. All right? Now, 7. All right? This is betting that you're going to specifically hit 7 on the next roll. And as you can see, that pays out 4 to 1. All right? Well, let's go ahead and roll it. And that's not 7, okay? That's not 7. That's not 7. That's not 7. That is 7. So we won $4. Now, this is one of the worst bets on the fucking board. Don't do it, buddy. Don't do it, okay? Now, these ones are interesting. These are the hard ways, okay? These are the hard ways bets. I don't think you usually have to wait until the point is set for the hard ways. But anyway, the way hard ways bets work is there are multiple roll bets as well. So let's go ahead and make a 4 hard ways bet. All right, we'll chuck a buck on there, and you can see these pay 7 to 1. Now, what you're doing is you're essentially betting that so when you get 2 of the same number, that's the hard ways, okay? So it's a 1 out of 36 chance on any given roll that you're going to get, like, if I, like 2 2s, for example, right? 1 out of 36, so they call that the hard ways. Whereas if I got a 1 and a 3, that's going to be a 2 out of 36 chance because you can get a 1 and a 3 or a 3 and a 1. So it's twice as likely that you're going to get a 1 and a 3 in some order rather than a 2 and a 2. That's why they call these the hard ways. So there's hard 4, there's hard 10, there's hard 6, and there's hard 8, okay? Now, the way that these work is, let's say I put a buck up here. What I want to have happen is I want them to roll for the hard ways, meaning 2 2s, before they roll a 7 or they roll a 1 and a 3. All right? And if I do that, if they roll the 2 and the 2 before they roll a 7 or a 1 and a 3, it's going to pay me out 7 to 1. All right, so let's go ahead and roll it. Let's see what happens here. So 6, it doesn't matter. 7, we lose. All right, let's go put it up again. That's 9, doesn't matter. Here we've got 9 that loses, but doesn't matter to us. Or sorry, that, you know, the point wins there. 7, we lose here. Let's go ahead and roll again. 6 doesn't matter. 3 doesn't matter. 7 doesn't matter. Well, we lose. And then 4. Now you'll notice, because it was a 4 and it was not the hard ways, meaning 2 and 2, we lost that bet even though it wasn't a 7. All right? It's the same thing, so I'm not going to keep rolling until we get double 2s. It's a 1 out of 36 chance. You get how it works. But you'll notice that the hard ways 6 and the hard ways 8 pay out 9 to 1 rather than 7 to 1. Well, that's because there are more ways to make a 6 and an 8 than there are a 4 and a 10. Meaning that there are fewer numbers for a 4 and a 10 that are going to lose you the bet when you're rolling hard ways than there are for a 6 and an 8. Okay, so let's just go ahead and do this one. I'll put $1 on the hard 6, meaning that we want double 3s here. So that's 4, doesn't matter. Here that's 4 and 8 and 7. So we lose that one. Let's go ahead and roll out. That's 3, that's 4, that's 6, but it's not the hard ways, so we lose. All right, so it's less likely that we're going to get a hard ways 6 than we are a hard ways 4. All right, so that's how the hard ways bet work. And I think that that's everything that's on this table, okay? Now, there's other bets on top of this. Oh, actually, there is one more. Let me see if there... Because let me put... I don't think it lets me put. But one other bet that you can usually make is a put bet, which by itself is awful, okay? It's one of the worst bets on the fucking table, all right? So the point is a 4, all right? So just for context, okay? A lot of your advantage for the pass line and don't pass bets, well, I guess pass line bet, is because of the come out rule, right? Excuse me. You have a 2/9 chance, an 8 out of 36 chance of winning on the come out. You have a 4 out of 36 chance of losing, and then you have a 2/3 chance that you're going to set one of these point numbers, okay? So a lot of your advantage comes from the come out rule. A put bet is essentially a pass line bet made after the point has been established, all right? It doesn't even let you do it on this board, okay? Now, by itself, it's absolute horseshit, okay? Because, for example, if we put the 4 here, we have a 33% house edge, all right? Just awful. 33% repeating house edge, which is one of the worst in the casino. But the thing that kind of balances it out is that you're able to place odds on a put bet, okay? And that can kind of even it out. If on certain tables, if you're going to be making a place bet for a large amount of money, it might make more sense to basically put that bet and then put max odds instead, okay? I'm not really going to cover that. You can't even do it on this table. It's not a very conventional betting style. People are mostly going to be doing pass, don't pass, you know, and then place bets and buy bets, and then they'll toss a few bucks into these, you know, long shot bets and play the field. Those are going to be the most common bets. In addition to that, a couple other bets that I can think of. You'll see like a horn box, usually. The horn box, baby. You make a horn bet, which is essentially covering all 4 of these cases. So you can put like $1 on the horn, and you'll win a certain amount, but it's basically the equivalent of betting on all of these at the same time, okay? So we can go ahead and roll this, and oh, we lost all of them. Who would imagine? There's a world bet, too, that I don't remember exactly how it works, but it's basically a set of bets, so you don't really need to worry about it. There's hop bets, which you can't do on this table, but hop bets are essentially just betting a specific roll on the next roll, okay? And it basically pays out the same shit as these numbers around here, okay? So, for example, if I bet, you know, 2 2s on the next roll, if I hop double 2s, okay? That would pay out 30 to 1. If I hop bet a 2 and a 3, that would pay out 15 to 1 because they could roll a 3 and a 2 or a 2 and a 3. You know, it's a 2 out of 36 chance, okay? Hop bets, I think, are offered at most tables, but a lot of them don't have, like, a designated area for it. You just say, I want to hop, you know, 1 and 2, or something like that, okay? Those will pay out the same as the equivalent numbers over here. In addition to that, one of my friends who likes to play craps told me about a bet that is found at certain tables where you basically bet to hit, like, every number before the shooter rolls a 7, all right? So it would be like a range, okay? So you'd say, like, the lower numbers, okay? You'd bet that that they hit 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 before they roll a 7, which is a long shot bet. And you can even, though, bet that they hit every single number before they roll a 7. And that, apparently, at the casino he goes to, that pays out 175 to 1. And he witnessed it one time. And I guess he was able to be the one to roll the final number for the guy who bet on that shit, because he was the shooter at the time. So, there you go. So there's some other wacky bets. There's also variants of craps. But these are the basic rules, you know. Some of these I kind of rushed through, especially, like, the come, the don't come. Like, that shit gets confusing. There's just shit all over the place. Like I said, don't worry about it too much, but if you have any questions, leave them in the comments below. Let me know if you want to know anything, if I can help you out in any way. But I'm going to continue to make some craps videos. We're going to do some strategy analysis, that sort of stuff. We're going to go by the numbers. I'm going to be comparing bets. I'm going to be doing, like, a tier list. It's going to be a lot of fun, so stay tuned. Thank you all for watching. Hope this helps. All right, bye-bye.